Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Monday, December 6th, 2021. And a lot to review from this weekend in the NFL. Also, the college football playoff is set. And we'll go over all of that coming up. Dave Sharapan will join us in just a few moments, as Dave does every Monday here during football season. But before we get to Dave, let's tell you about BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks, and new players only. Great deal. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. That's right. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, new players only, must be 21 years or older and eligible in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. Let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Sharapan. Again, conflicting colors today. Patriots hat, Steelers jersey, but that's what Dave brings to the table. Hi,
Hey, I couldn't decide what to wear. I was going to go all Steelers, but we can't always look back. We got to look forward. I don't got no Buffalo stuff, Kevin, so I wore the Patriot hat. These things don't go together at all. And for people that watch the show that know me, I'm sorry. I apologize. You know, you said it in the tweet last week. I wore this ridiculous suit for you. I wore this ridiculous outfit for you today, Kevin, because we got to talk about Monday Night Football. We got to talk about the Sunday that we just saw, let alone this college football stuff has just been fantastic.
Well, we'll get to the Patriots Bills coming up in just a few minutes, the big showdown tonight in Buffalo. But first, let's begin with week 14. What week are we in? Let's begin with week 13 in the NFL.
Yes.
And the big one in Pittsburgh, Steelers over the Ravens, 20-19. I did like Pittsburgh in this one. I couldn't pull the trigger on them. They've been a good dog this year in spite of that loss to Cincinnati last week. It kind of felt like the must-win scenario for Tomlin and for Big Ben. They were down most of that game. They come back. They take the lead. Ravens come back. They get the touchdown, but then Harbaugh goes for two. They don't get it. A lot to digest there, but I guess your thoughts first on the Steelers and them bouncing back after the Bengals loss.
Not surprised. This is what they do, right? Like, this is what Tomlin has done. Ben has done after a dismal, basically end of the season type loss to Cincinnati, swept by Cincinnati for the first time in how long. They get Ravens week, and Ravens week is just different. I mean, it's been, the line on this game has been 3 for 20 years. I swear what do you make the line? 3. And it depends who's playing better and they're favored. So anything over 3, I always like. I like the dog, no matter who it is. So Steelers catching points at home made a lot of sense. I mean, it looks great now. Up until the fourth quarter, it didn't look so great. I have no idea how they won that game, other than the Ravens offense is terrible. The Ravens offense is the real story of this, right? They just can't move the ball. They're inaccurate with the passing. The 2-point conversion, I can't believe he went for it. I understand why he did. And all the math guys and everybody likes to say that's the right call, that's the right play. And he, afterward, Harbaugh said, well, we were out of corners. You're out of corners? What if you win the toss and take it down the field and win? You only have the most accurate field goal kicker in the history of the league. Kick the field goal or kick the extra point and play for the overtime. It was overjoyed because I had Steelers plus 4.5. So I was like, win or lose here, that's good. I don't want to give anybody false hope, though. Like, everyone is still mathematically alive in the AFC. The Steelers aren't. I don't think right now the Steelers are making the playoffs. And if they do, their fate awaits them, and a very similar fate that it did last year when they got housed by Cleveland.
I walked out of the room, Dave, after the Ravens tied, or they got the touchdown to get within 1, and then I saw that the Steelers had it back up 2019, and at first I was like, Tucker missed the extra point? He never missed it. And then, of course, they went for the 2. You brought up the offensive numbers for Baltimore. 19 against Pittsburgh, 16 against Cleveland, 16 against Chicago, no Lamar, 10 against Miami. That's not a trend anymore. That's 4 straight games below 20.
Yeah. And I can't believe like their odds are still they're in the top 5 to win the AFC. Like a lot of times the numbers in the book and stuff don't always indicate reality. And maybe there's been a lot of bets already on Baltimore, but this team ain't winning in January. They're not even winning now. It just got to December. Something isn't right, whether it's a lack of a big play wide receiver. They got a great tight end. They're beat up, obviously, at running back, but they still keep kind of churning out the ability to run the ball. But it looks like, man, teams have figured out Lamar, where it's like, all right, make him beat us, and he's not doing it.
Now let's take a look elsewhere in the AFC. I really like the Chargers yesterday. They go up 24-0 on the Bengals. All of a sudden, the Chargers went Chargers. And Cincinnati came back 24-22. The Mixon fumble return for the touchdown obviously got LA back on the track. They ended up winning the game at Cincinnati 41-22. Your thoughts on this? With the Bengals, it kind of felt like there was a letdown after the Steelers win. Where are they at in the AFC? And also, do the Chargers still have life?
Oh, I think what we learned from this game is that we don't know enough about either team. Like these are young football teams with young quarterbacks and young head coaches. And I think we're seeing the ups and the downs of that. It's more supposed to be like this and enjoying the ride along the way. I think you're going to get this with these teams. The best play in the game was over. that seemed easy, especially as the Bengals came back in that second quarter. Are the Chargers still alive? Yes, 100% the Chargers are still alive. They are they're still a threat to win their division. One hiccup or two by Kansas City and the Chargers keep winning. Yes. I mean, they got an easy game next week. They're like a 10-point favorite. They're supposed to win that game. They will. We'll see whether they cover or not. But the Bengals are the story to me. Like, now what do you do? Now what direction are you going to go? I really am impressed with Joe Burrow. And I think Cincinnati's got a lot of pieces where they are going. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. I mean, that's a loss against a team that's, right there. But they're in that spot right now. They're in the 7th spot. Okay. It's going to come down to the end. It's going to, and them, obviously they got the tiebreaker now over the Steelers. They're right in it too. Chargers, though, are going to be one of those teams. We're going to hear that thing between now and the playoffs starting. They're the team nobody wants to play in the playoffs. The Chargers will be one of those teams.
Now, as far as the Chiefs go in the AFC, Dave, they knock off Denver 22-9. It felt like the Broncos were that sexy road underdog. Teddy Bridgewater, great as an underdog. I thought the spot was last week against the Chargers. This one, Kansas City now has figured out some of their woes. I know Mahomes doesn't have great numbers like he has had in years past, but this defense, Dave, that's 5 straight games allowing 17 or less.
Very, very impressed with the defense, Kevin. Good teams, great teams, championship teams win when they are not their best, right? Like, and Kansas City is not their best offensively. Whether it's taking Kelsey away and forcing the wide receivers other than Hill to beat you, their kind of lack of a running game, like until it really gets going, or they're super downhill and they can run the ball. They can't run the ball when they need to. So how do you win those games? Keep it close. Ideally, don't turn it over. Somehow he gets another tip pick. I can't believe Mahomes keeps throwing these interceptions, but the defense is the story. They have figured something out, continue to somewhat dominate games. I mean, like, can we say that about a Kansas City defense? I think we can about this one. This is no, again, 1-2 week trick pony thing. This is 5 weeks in a row where they're playing, they're getting a lead, and they're keeping it. I'm impressed, man. I mean, they are, until somebody knocks them off, they are the defending champion, both in reality, theory, and odds-wise.
Do you realize this, Dave, that in 5 of the past 6 games for Patrick Mahomes, he has thrown 1 touchdown or less?
No. I would have bet no. I would have lost. But he's thrown a pick probably in 5 of 6.
4.
4 or 6. So
but one, it was the Raider game. He had the 5 touchdowns. That was like real Mahomes. Past that, the other games, he's not even throwing for 300 yards. They're winning, but what does that say about the Chiefs? That I hate to use the term, but they're winning in spite of Mahomes not having his great numbers.
Well, I mean, you can say it, and it's true. Well, now whether people will believe it or not, go to the numbers. And again, that's what we do, right? We're always looking at the numbers. Chiefs got there as a big number favorite yesterday. The Chiefs are going to continue to be big number favorites because people are betting them again. It's starting to happen. I think people got off them earlier in the season where it was like, man, how many times do I have to do this and get beat? Like, I'm tired of losing and backing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And now the train's back on the tracks, man. We're riding it. And you get a divisional matchup. It's at home. How do you get a divisional dog like Teddy Bridgewater plus all them points and it don't get there? Really, the trend is you got to look at is the total. The Chiefs games are going under, and the numbers aren't adjusting as quickly as maybe they should. I mean, you're still seeing totals in the 50s. They ain't even scoring. They're not even getting out of the 30s in their games thanks to their defense.
We like to congratulate the Detroit Lions. They finally found the win column this year. Granted, the final second of the game against Minnesota, Mike Zimmer's got to be on his way out. I mean, that's inexcusable. But the Lions, 4 straight covers now. They beat the Vikings 29-27. Got to give Dan Campbell credit because 4 straight covers, lost by 2 to the Bears last-second field goal, lost by 3 to Cleveland, the tie against Pittsburgh, win yesterday against Minnesota. They're hanging. They're hanging in these games. They finally got one.
So I don't know if you saw it over the weekend, but the hype video for Notre Dame, and when they announced that the head coach was going to be that guy, and the kids mobbed them and went nuts. I don't know if you saw the video after the game in Detroit for Dan Campbell. Those guys really are playing for him, and they are still in belief of whatever he's saying. And they've been right there. They just couldn't get over the hump. And then they finally did. Thanks to Zimmer playing a prevent defense with 1 play to go. You line up 7 guys on the goal line and say, don't let nobody pass you, and rush 4. I can't believe that it happened. I watched it. I rewound it, watched it again. I said, I don't believe that really just happened. So, yep, we finally got there with the Detroit money line. Everybody got paid off. Minnesota, I think we could kind of put a line through the Vikings. Like, Cook getting hurt was enough. Now we get, that game. It's hard to win in this league, but man, you had the game won. You literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And now they got a short week turnaround against my Steelers. I can't believe it. And they're favored by over a field goal. I cannot. Sometimes the lines don't make any sense to me. That's one of them.
Well, also with Mike Zimmer, Dave, he chased the points yesterday and it cost them because they were down 20-9, scored a touchdown, went for the 2 and missed it. You get the extra point. It's 20-16. Detroit got a field goal, so it was 23-16. If you had that, Vikings got back-to-back touchdowns, but they were only up by 4 because they kept chasing points. They lost 3 points. So they would have been up 30-23 going into that final drive by Detroit.
Yep, and again, we got all these math guys, everybody telling you, go for 2 is the right way to do it. I've been of the school of thought, you don't have to go for 2 until you have to go for 2. And then once you do, you've committed to, like you said, chasing points. It's a great way of saying it. It doesn't always work out, and it didn't work out yesterday for the Vikings, although if they just stood on the goal line and kept them out, they probably would have won. I can't believe it.
What about Minshew Mania? It's back.
Oh,
it is back. Gardner Minshew leads the Eagles past the Jets. New York doesn't score a point in the second half, and the Eagles, easy cover on the road.
What do you make of this Eagles team? I mean, it's crazy, right? Because we talk about this on the Twitter all the time about the CLV, the closing line value. I fell for it, had the Jets +7. Well, then you get the quarterback news. I knew I was dead. I knew when I saw the line go as low as 4.5, I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. Just bet the Eagles now because they're going to win and cover at least that number. Minshew Mania is great. I wish I could grow a mustache as good as his. I really do. It's fun. Sometimes during the season, you need someone to bring a little bit of life to the party. I don't think he created a quarterback controversy myself, but I mean, you're not in a rush now to maybe throw in Jalen and, make sure he's 100% healthy. But, man, that was fun. The other takeaway from that game is the Jets are they the worst team in football? They're terrible. How did they win that game last week? I mean, I think they're the worst team in football.
But how are they the worst team if they beat the Bengals and the Titans already?
That's the NFL, right? Like, that's the NFL. How did they win those two games?
It's Jacksonville, Dave. Jacksonville's the worst team.
Jacksonville is the worst team. We can agree on that. 100%. Jacksonville is the worst team. And, I mean, isn't it ironic that Urban had a shot the same year, the same calendar year within a month? USC, Notre Dame, and LSU have job openings, and he's coaching in Jacksonville, losing every week when he could have had his pick of his 3 dream jobs that he's been rumored to be involved in the last 5 years. He can't have a shot at one of those jobs because he's game planning for the Rams and not working very well there.
I want to give you the stat, Dave. So heading into Sunday, Monday night winners this season, their next game, they were 11-0-1.
What?
Washington is made it 12-0-1.
Why didn't you tell me this before the game? I always thought the Raiders might be live. I would have known that. That would have been an automatic, and I think we saw that in the market. I mean, it came Raiders 2.5 and immediately went down. The money never really showed for the Raiders. That was a crazy game. We were watching that one here because apparently now we're in an NFL market, so we don't get the best games. We get the local game. So that was the only game on. In the house. Obviously, you can go to the book and watch whatever you want. Is the Washington football team legit? Maybe. They're in the playoffs if the season ended right now, which it doesn't. But that is a good thing to know going forward. They have not lost a game. And usually that's a trend that goes the other way, right? The Monday night team wins, and they're a fade the next week. Oh, well, maybe that's probably why I have a couple more losses in some of those plays, because I used to do that all the time. That's pretty strong.
Trends are your friends, right?
Trends are your friends till they're not. Yep, and then you got to just shoo them away. But I mean, undefeated. That's past being a trend.
No, one team screwed it up.
Oh,
that was the team that you're wearing
Pittsburgh.
That they couldn't get a win over the Lions. They got a tie.
They did.
They beat the Bears and then tied the Lions, so you're the only ones that messed it up.
Yeah, that was a tough back-to-back. Yeah, I can't blame them.
I know it is. I mean, really, no travel.
Bears.
Fields and whoever the backup was for the Lions. I know that's tough sledding.
Terrible. So bad.
It's awful. All right, let's look at the Monday night game tonight, Dave.
Did you just skirt by the Dolphins? Do you not have the Dolphins in any part of the rundown and mention? Like, I thought for sure coming from Miami, like there was something coming with these Dolphins. Line opens 2.5. The guy says he's not going to play, and then the line shoots up to 7. Are you kidding me? And the Dolphins win and cover easy. They're back in the mix, 5 in a row. And you're just going to go right to the Monday night game, Kevin?
Well, Dave, they are in the dreaded, in the mix, in the hunt conversation. You're squeezed in with those other 7 teams in that logjam on the right part of your screen. Here's what's interesting, Dave. There's a very real possibility the Dolphins, and I'm making this up because I don't know if this is true, but I got to believe that this could happen for the first time. They could be the first team in NFL history with 7 straight losses and 7 straight wins. Because right now they're 5 in a row. They get the Jets after the bye. Then they get New Orleans on the road. New Orleans is not good. And if Alvin Kamara's still hurt and it's either Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian, the Dolphins can win that game at the Superdome.
Are you worried that this is the momentum killer, the bye week, this late in the season, as good as they're playing?
No, I don't think so. I think that I think it's all right. I think it's time to rest up. I think it's all right. And you got the Jets on the other side of it.
That's a good thing. Even so, a bad game, a lesser game out of the bye week is against the Jets. I'm good with that. Do they make the playoffs, Kevin?
They get Tennessee, New England, the final 2. So
win
Here's the
those
problem.
2-7, and then split the Tennessee, New England. Maybe New England's not playing for anything by that point. Maybe, I don't know.
This is always the way I do it, Dave. I've done this for years. Name the teams. All right. You get 7 in. New England and Buffalo's 2.
Yep.
Baltimore is 3.
Okay.
Tennessee is 4. Kansas City's 5. Locks,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. I mean, is Tennessee a lock?
Yeah. They got the tiebreaker on the Colts.
Okay.
I don't think they totally melt down.
Okay.
So that's 5. You get 2 more. Chargers, Colts, Bengals, Steelers, Browns, all with better records.
Jeez.
Denver, Vegas, all better records than the Dolphins right now.
I think you could throw out the AFC West teams. Is it that they're only getting Kansas City and the Chargers? That's it.
Fine. Okay.
So throw those.
So now you're up to 6.
I think you got to throw out.
Mention anybody in the AFC North besides Baltimore.
I know that's who they have to beat. They have to beat those teams, and if those teams, one of them goes, on a nice little streak here to close the season, that's going to be the one to get in. It's possible that all 3 of them don't get in, legitimately. I mean, and look at Baltimore. Are they in? Like right now, they're in, but they're a 4-game losing streak from being a division winner in a spot to out of the playoffs. They got Cleveland this week coming up. They're dogs in Cleveland. Like it's the Dolphins are in a really good spot because of those games they got. I don't know. I would say that they're more live than people think.
Really quick on Cincinnati. This is their schedule coming up. Tell me if they get in. San Francisco at home, at Denver, Baltimore at home, Kansas City at home, at Cleveland. That's not easy.
Ouch. What is that, 2 wins? I mean, that's max 2 wins.
I mean, you got Ravens and Chiefs on a back-to-back at home.
Not good. That's a tough spot. I mean, in San Francisco, that's not an easy game. They're going to be. I mean, they're small favorites there. It's a pick'em game. I mean, they could lose that one. They may not win another game, Kevin. They could be out.
Pittsburgh goes to Kansas City and Baltimore, and they get Tennessee at home.
Pittsburgh's not making the playoffs. There's no.
Show some more confidence in your team.
I'm just telling you the truth. Sometimes you got to keep it real. I'd love for them to make the playoffs because then we could talk about them longer. I mean, Ben put it out there into the media space that this is the end. I'm done. So now is it the swan song? Are we going to ride him out all the way to the playoffs? Like, what is it? What is he doing? We knew it was done before the year even started, let alone last year. I can't believe he came back, but put it out there. So now we're doing the one go around like we did, for Bettis on the way out. I don't know.
Last one before we get to the Monday night game. Chargers, Giants at home, Chiefs at home, at Houston, Denver at home, at Vegas.
Oh, those are winnable games.
Yeah.
Those are very winnable games. Even the Kansas City game.
Sure. Get them at home.
That's the favorite right there. That's the favorite. They're getting in. I mean, unless again.
Oh, wait. It's the Chargers. Don't guarantee anything, please.
You're right. Don't
guarantee anything just yet.
But it's a new era. It's new coach. The quarterbacks for real. Herbert. As long as Herbert's in, I'm with Herbert. They're gonna make the playoffs.
Monday nighter. Patriots Bills tonight in Buffalo. The New England Patriots are in first place in the AFC East in December. Of course they were. Of course. They got Belichick.
It's the same old story, isn't it? Like, we got a year of not having to talk about it. We got a year of putting them away. We got a year of like, all right, let's go. And now they're back and they win 6 in a row. And they got the cool kid quarterback and the cool nickname. And his name's Mikey McCorkle. I didn't know that. And I do a podcast, Cash Considerations, and my co-host Carl lives up there and says it's Mikey McCorkle. How cool is that? They're 3-point dogs, 2.5 in some places. The Bills, talk about schedule. They got New England this week at home. They got Tampa next week in Tampa, and then they got New England in New England. I hate betting teams that got to win. I hate it. I've seen it for so many years. People come to the counter like, oh, this team has to win. Give me them. This team has to win. Give me them. A team doesn't always win just because they have to. But Buffalo's going to win this game tonight, Kevin. They're going to win this game. It's still a rookie quarterback on the road. It's going to be swirling winds. The total's down. You got it 40.5 at BetMGM. It's 41. It was 46, 47 when it opened. It's plummeted because of the wind. This is one of those times we'd be sitting in a book going, man, please either the weather forecast be wrong or hope that there's some turnovers and get over, because every book on planet Earth will need the over tonight. Doesn't mean it's not going to get there. It most likely will be a low-scoring game. If Buffalo can run the ball, that's what we'll know. We'll know that pretty quickly, because Buffalo has been unable to run the ball. When they do, they win. When they don't, they lose, unless the other team gives them turnovers. New England doesn't turn the ball over. They've been playing their coach. He's coaching them up. He's the favorite to win the coach of the year. And ain't nobody want to vote for the guy. Like, you just know it. But I can't wait to watch it. And it's a hype game. I'm hyped up. I can't wait to watch. I think we'll know early how the game's going to go. Although you saw it in Pittsburgh yesterday. Sometimes a dead under turns into an over with one crazy fourth quarter.
Let's take a quick look at college football. The playoff is out, and Cincinnati's in. They should be in. You're undefeated. Let's see what you can do against Alabama. Now, with the Crimson Tide, how shocked were you the resounding win they had over Georgia? They were getting 6.5. How do you not take 6.5 with Saban anytime? But, man, he's got a freaking stranglehold on his old guy, Kirby Smart. I mean, they cannot beat him to save themselves. And if you get Alabama, Georgia, again, the national championship, how could you even bet on Georgia?
You can't. I mean, you can't right now unless Georgia really houses Michigan. You can't bet Georgia in that game. You just know. I mean, you can't beat the guy. You can't beat him. Was I surprised Bama won the game? No. Was I surprised Bama won the game the way they did? Yes, absolutely. I said to somebody on Saturday, I feel like I'm watching a game like people listen to podcasts on 1.5 speed, 1.5x. I felt like I was watching the game on 1.5x. Everything was faster. Everything felt different. And, I saw the post game when Saban said, "Oh, you gave us the rat poison." I mean, the guy's better than, an exterminator. He's so good at what he does. And he got those kids like, all week practice had to be easy. You guys are underdogs for the first time in 6 years. They don't think, and nobody thinks you can win. Like, what? That would be another 6 years before Bama's getting points, Kevin. Like, they are the clear favorite. It's a gigantic number against Cincinnati. Everybody's going to be rooting for Cincinnati to cover, except the books. They're going to be like, let them bet it, let them bet it, let them bet it. They ain't going to move it. They're not moving it down. The number for a month. We got 25 days until the game's going to be played, and it ain't going to go below 14. It don't matter. A guy comes in and wants to bet whatever the limit is, 100,000, 200,000. There ain't no books going less than 14. It's not going to happen.
And in the other playoff game, Georgia and Michigan, Michigan's got a lot of momentum now.
Ooh.
They beat Ohio State. They house Iowa in the Big Ten title game. Now you wonder with Georgia, this is my only crazy thought here, Dave, that Georgia's going to try to reset themselves for Michigan. They know hanging over the hill is Alabama, who they've struggled with. Do you get a flat performance from Georgia in the Orange Bowl?
I wish I knew. I I don't know. That's the thing, right? With these, they're still kids. They got to recover from that. Like, that one leaves a mark. That is a game against Alabama that could have lasting repercussions, even though, they're done with it. They go home. They got to take finals, and then they go home. Their families a little bit, come back for practice, whatever they're doing. You got to get it completely out of your mind. I say it now when I coach with the kids, just flush it. It's gone, right down and gone. So maybe learn a little from what you made mistakes with the film, but otherwise put the thoughts out of your mind. You got Michigan, who's catching again, like they did against Ohio State, over a touchdown. I'm a Big Ten guy, went to Penn State. I try to root for the Big Ten when they move on. And I want to see Michigan get to the final. I'm just, but Michigan has the ultimate two-team parlay, Kev. They got to beat Georgia. Then they got to beat Bama. If there's any question about Harbaugh as a coach, about Michigan as a team, All those questions will be answered if Michigan can hit a 2-team parlay. Beat Georgia, beat Bama, stop talking. Like, are they going to beat Georgia? I don't know. The total's 43.5. The Bama-Georgia game was supposed to be this defensive slobber knocker of a game, back and forth, dominated by the defenses, and it was back and forth, dominated by the offenses. Expect Michigan to take the one page from that game. They're going to run the ball on Georgia. Telling you right now, you heard it 25 days in advance. Michigan will be able to run the ball.
Quickly on Harbaugh, you don't think that's enough just beating Georgia, that if they beat Georgia, lose to Alabama, that's enough for him as far as getting to the national championship? He's got to win the whole thing for validation?
Well, I mean, for validation forever. Forever. That's forever. He's got carte blanche. Beating Ohio State is one thing. Finally got that one done. Winning the Big Ten championship the way they did it, I mean, that was a party. That was a fun. I mean, they do the quarterback back pass thing and throw that touchdown, and Gus Johnson announcing it 14-0. That was a wrap. Still not good enough. They got to win a playoff game now. I think you're right. I think that will give at least a lot of carte blanche. Like, he'll give them a lot of wiggle room. But then they go to lose by 20 to Bama. That's the one they'll be kind of talking about last. So, but best thing about Harbaugh is he don't care. I mean, you saw with his brother yesterday. He went for 2 in a game at division round. He's like, we're out of corners. Let's go for 2. And a pass a foot over, they win it. And he's a genius. So those guys are great. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to go to school there or be coached by them, because they're no-nonsense guys, and he's a no-nonsense coach. So I don't know, man. It's going to be fun to talk about all the way up to New Year's Eve.
And you're not going to go to Tampa for the Outback Bowl?
Man, they were supposed to come to Vegas. I heard all the rumblings. I got all the texts on Saturday like, hey, if this thing breaks right, it's going to be Arizona State and Penn State in Vegas. We're coming. I told the wife, I said, it may get crazy here for the bowl game. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, sounds like all the boys are going to come out if Penn State's playing. So now they're in Florida. I got to go to Florida. I've never been to that bowl game. I've been to the Fiesta Bowl. I've been to the Rose Bowl. I've been to the Holiday Bowl. I always went west. I never went south to the bowl game. So maybe not this year, because we got a lot going on with a lot of other stuff and shows. I don't think I'm going to – I mean, they're playing Arkansas. I can't even believe the number. Penn State's favored against Arkansas. A Big Ten school's favored against an SEC school. What's going on? I don't understand the number. And I'm undefeated at the bowl games. I ain't seen a loss. I ain't coming to Florida to see them lose to Arkansas.
Is that the it's the first game of 2022. Ringing in the new year with Penn State football. Yeah.
After a long day. That day was always a crazy day in the book. And now with the playoffs being on New Year's Eve in Vegas, it's nuts. It handles through the roof. It's a party atmosphere. Everyone has kind of partaken in some celebration as they come to your window. It's loud. It's nuts. Great. Working that next morning for that morning kickoff was always like, that was my shift. I used to call it the grown-up shift, because a lot of the kids couldn't come in until the Rose Bowl start a little bit later. First game. Yeah, it's going to be hopefully a real doozy. Feels like a dead under already, but we'll see. It's an early start, messes everybody's time schedule up. I think I'm leaning already Arkansas and under in the game.
Dave Sharapan, you can find him on Twitter, Sportsbook Consigliere, SportsBKConsig. Joins us every Monday during football season to talk NFL and even now a little bit of college with the Final Four and the Bulls announced. Dave, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
As always, Kevin, good job. I wore this ridiculous suit for you. Talk to you next week.
See you, Dave. Thank you. There is Dave Sharapan, and always enjoy talking with Dave. Yep, Penn State, Arkansas. That's the first bowl game of 2022. And we'll look at some of those in just a little bit. But before we do that, I want to tell you about WynnBET. The WynnBET mobile sportsbook app. You can download on iOS or Android devices. When you download the WynnBET mobile sportsbook and you're a new patron, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet with a $20 minimum first deposit and an eligible sports bet. When you use the promo code VIBONUS, that means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. The WynnBET promo code will expire soon. To make sure to grab it while you can, that is the WynnBET mobile sportsbook app. All right. So in case you don't know about the Bulls, or you're just joining us, I mean, there's way too many to go over. At least the New Year's Day Bulls, because we told you about Alabama laying 14 to Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl. That's one of the playoff games. That's at 3:30 Eastern on New Year's Day on Friday, December 31st. Georgia, Michigan's the night game at the Orange Bowl. Well, it's at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, but the Orange Bowl. And Georgia's favored there by 7.5 over Michigan. But the other games coming up on New Year's Day, the Outback Bowl, Arkansas and Penn State. Penn State is short favored. Oklahoma State faces Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. And the Fighting Irish favored by less than a field goal. Kentucky and Iowa in the Citrus Bowl. And the Wildcats, a short favorite. Utah and Ohio State, the Urban Meyer Bowl, the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And the Buckeyes, nearly a touchdown favorite there. Utah coming off the Pac-12 title. Baylor and Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's night. And the Rebels, a short favorite against the Bears. And the final game before the national championship is LSU and Kansas State in the Texas Bowl in Houston. And LSU, a short favorite there. Interesting. So Tigers at 6-6 in the season. And we'll look at all the bowl games coming up. There's so many of them, and we'll talk about them as we continue through the month and during the next few weeks. Really quick in the NBA, college basketball, all you have tonight really is Illinois-Iowa. That's the only major matchup. And the Hawkeyes a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Fighting Illini. NBA tonight, the premier games, Nuggets and Bulls, good one in Chicago. Bulls laying 3.5, total of 217. Bulls beat the Nuggets last time they played each other in Denver. Nikola Jokic didn't play in that game. He's been back the last few games, and Denver has won 2 of 3. Also, you may not think of it as a premier game, but Cleveland at Milwaukee. Cavaliers lost a close one to the Jazz yesterday. They continue to cover. Milwaukee at 15-9. They're laying 6.5 at home to the Cavs. Atlanta, Minnesota's a decent game tonight at Target Center. Timberwolves a short favorite there. And also you have the 76ers against the shorthanded Hornets. They've got a lot of guys in the protocol, including LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier. 76ers laying 6.5 on the road against Charlotte. Clippers, Blazers, final time they're meeting in the regular season. Clippers favored on the road. Damian Lillard still out for Portland. So you got a lot of action in the NBA, and of course the Monday night game between the Patriots and the Bills. Buffalo, a field goal favorite against the Patriots. And Buffalo did sweep New England last season, and that stopped a whole skid because Tom Brady and the Patriots owned the Bills for years. And coincidentally, the Bills face Tom Brady next week in Tampa Bay. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, tell you about them all the time on this show. New players only. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. That's right. Bet on any NFL money line. And if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, for new players only, must be 21 years or older to play and legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. Mike, thanks to Dave Sharapan for joining us again every Monday on the Daily Insider. We'll talk to you again coming up tomorrow. We'll be back with you at noon Eastern. Talk more about the Bulls. Look back to the NFL game tonight, and also plenty of college basketball to look at as well on Tuesday. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of the Daily Insider. And as always, best of luck with your bets.